listening to The Big Album Show with Paul Dillon and Dan O'Neill.
Hello and welcome back to the latest edition of The Big Album Show. I'm Paul.
And I'm Dan.
Thanks to everyone for their amazing support for our shows. We've managed to get right up to the top of the music commentary chart in Ireland, which is amazing for us. And if you like what we do, please take a moment to leave a review or give us a little like on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram at The Big Album Show. On the latest pod, we're talking about Stories from the Surface by the amazing Dazzling ham sandwich. Originally formed on a Good Friday in the noughties, they have rightly built up a reputation as one of our very best live acts. It's a real joy to see this band live. They bring a sense of fun and a sense of abandonment that makes them a standout act. Their live shows and their 2010 White Fox album built them up a supportive and loyal fan base, and Stories from the Surface rocketed right up to the top of the charts when it was released in April 2015. Over the course of the album, they bring you their unique house blend of indie folk rock with infusions of disco and funk. There's tremendous fun and joy in the album, perhaps best captured by the lead single Illuminate, but there's also profound depth and emotion on show on tracks like Perfect Rhymes and All Worthwhile. The album's incredibly catchy melodies are paired with lyrics which are often equally rememberable. And we're really pleased to be joined today by Niamh and Podge from Ham Sandwich, and you're both very welcome.
Thanks for having us on.
Absolutely.
That intro.
That was a lovely intro.
It's absolutely brilliant to have you. We're really delighted, and one of the things about doing this pod is that we get to know the fans of the bands quite well, and you've got some amazingly loyal and dedicated fans up and down the country that have seen the band live and that have given us such lovely feedback and given us questions. And I wanted to talk to you about that really as a kind of opening, because when we listen to records, myself and Dan, for this pod, we listen quite intensely. And you get to know an album almost like you might get to know a person. And from listening to a record, it feels really clear that the craft that went into this was really well thought out. It's really carefully put together. And it feels like, to me, like it's a gift to listeners. And I wonder what you both had in mind when you put this album together. Were you thinking of it as a set of songs that would take on a life with the audience that you had built up a relationship with over the years leading up to the release of the album?
I can take this, Niamh, if you want. It's a good question, because it's been so long, but I'm trying to hark back to our headspace at the time. But I do think there was a definite change in our mentality when we wrote this album, 1000%. And we went completely into the dungeons of creativity, if you know what I mean. We were definitely guilty of catering a little bit in the first two albums to, it's like any Irish band, you kind of, you have to get some form of radio play to literally survive as a band. Now, I mean, just to get to continue to be able to actually pay for stuff, the basics, like writing an album. But this was the first time where we kind of were a bit brave, a bit bold, and we didn't really care nearly as much about whether it get radio play or not. And it's a risky move. I think I know Illuminate got a bit of airplay, so we were kind of we got a bit of traction, and we got tour money, and we had enough money to just basically have a bit of fun with some money and write an album that was totally dropping all our tools that we would have usually had and starting again. And we were in. It felt never ending. This album, this felt like our second album. White Fox to me was album one. This was album two, and it was strange, because we did feel like we were possibly going a bit too self-indulgent. We weren't trying to, but we wanted to kind of express. Definitely wanted to express more. Sorry, you're probably I want to pitch in. You.
No. I'm just listening to you. I totally agree with you. We definitely took a lot more risks musically on this album, just to see where we could push ourselves. I think all the while, is always in the back of our mind, how the songs are going to translate live as well, because our live show was always very important to us, you know what I mean? So, but we definitely did take a lot of risks on Stories, and yeah, it was fun. I remember it being loads of fun writing it. We were in a little cottage, where was it, in Baltinglass or something like that.
Oh yeah.
We worked on a lot of stuff in this little cottage and stuff like that, and it was, yeah, I remember it just being really nice. And like as you were saying earlier on, like some of the lyrics and stuff, like I'd be very proud of some of the lyrics on that album and the melodies that we came up with and stuff like that. You know what I mean? A little bit different again for us, you know. We always want to push ourselves, you know.
Looking back at it now, I still feel like I can see a band still only finding their feet. To me, anyway. I know that's not like I'm insulting us, but we were like, I feel like we kind of only came out of the shadows really in album 2, and that was the start. Like that's we only really started to understand how to write lyrics. Like even I wouldn't even fully call either anyone in the band like a you know a lyricist, a heavy duty lyricist. I think we've all got nice strengths that we know how to sort of knit together. And with this, it was like, I think partially lack of experience created in a nice thing in a way with the Story from the Surface, because it's a little bit disjointed and almost shouldn't work. And I think even with that album, there's a touch of like Niamh said, we made sort of brave, like took a few risks. And I'd love to actually check that out, Niamh, how many songs we've dropped from Story from the Surface that we don't play live because they just don't work live. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think with the next album we've written, I don't know why, but I can't think of one song that we wouldn't play live off the next album coming. They're guaranteed all to work live, and we didn't focus that much. We kind of gotten I won't stray off the Stories from the Surface, but we have with the new album, we've definitely, it's weird, we're older but our songs are kind of younger. It's mad.
Yeah
Doing a bit of a Benjamin Button on it, which is good, and that gives me great hope that something similar might be possible on my end. I just want to take both of you up on the point about the lyrics. I mean, I attach a great importance to lyrics, and I think it's lyrically a really strong record. And for me, there's a lovely feeling of openness and fun and opportunity almost that runs through the record. And I think, lead singles often signify the direction of travel. And on Illuminate, that line, I leave it open to what the world decides, and then the chorus kicks in. Were you in a kind of a confident, optimistic mood when you were going through the process of writing that album? And is that what brings that sort of openness that I'm talking about here to the fore?
Yeah, I personally anyway, I would definitely say I was in that sort of place where, like, I mean, Illuminate was, that kind of like there's always still a bit of sadness, I think, in the songs. Do you know what I mean? Even though sometimes the melody can be quite uplifting. But yeah, I definitely felt more confident in the lyrics of some of the lyrics on this album. Definitely, yeah.
It's mad how our songs, like, I'm pretty sure Illuminate, Niamh wrote literally every single lyric in that right up until the outro. And I actually don't, I'm terrible. I don't really focus too heavy into lyrics. I do enjoy lyrics, but I don't find them like the be and the end all. Like, I'm definitely far more like, I definitely have more of a musical ear. Like, I enjoy the music coming in nearly first. That's first, and then the lyrics. But like, that's it. We're lucky in a way, because I don't even know if the end really correlates to what you wrote right up until the outro. But I remember, like, just kind of, I think I was in bed in my folks gaff like one morning, and just had this repetition kind of melody in my head, and tried it out in the next rehearsal, and he was like, deadly. Yeah, perfect. I was like, okay. Yeah. So we patch things together so well. We're blessed, because they shouldn't work. And I know a lot of like proper anal songwriters would be like, I couldn't do that, and I don't know why you do that. They wouldn't understand it,
Yeah, it's like we definitely over the years, and it's just it gets better as time goes on. I think this, like, I'm writing something and Podge will just know what I'm writing about, and he'll come up with like ideas and lyrics that are of, you know, that's exactly what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? It's like we just kind of know, and over the years, like we've definitely gotten better at doing that. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like it's kind of a second nature kind of thing when we're writing.
You've been going for you know, quite a while now. I remember the first time I came.
Watch it.
No, and the reason I'm saying that is because I remember the first time I heard Ham Sandwich. It must have been way back in about 2000, 1992. No, about 2006, I'd say. I was presenting this really dodgy radio show on Belfield FM in UCD, and I think we got your CD in St. Christopher. And we had about 10 CDs in total in the studio. So it was on repeat quite regularly, but it was also really, really good. But when I hear Ham Sandwich, and I like the way you talked about kind of the live feel and the youthful feel, because that's where it takes me. And maybe it's just because I listened to it all the way up through my kind of electric picnic going, sleighing going years, but it takes me right back to that place. And with this particular album, there's not a kind of a note or a chord or a rhythm or vocals out of place on the album. From start to finish, there's a really interesting flow to it, I feel. It stands, you know, together as a fantastic album as a whole, as well as having great individual songs on it. Can you talk me through the kind of process of how you created the track listing?
Track listing?
Darcy's kind of... Darcy is like the Quincy Jones of the band. He's the man behind the scenes. Like he like we'd all obviously pitch in, but I feel like he's got a really good. It's funny because he nearly always sets the set list, and it's rare that like he obviously me and Niamh will read over it before the gigs, but it's rare that we'd want to change more than one song in his order, and he always tries to keep it fresh. So it's not like, I don't think we'll ever be that band that sets an exact template of like 18 songs and do a tour around. Like we'll probably never do a tour around the world, but like 18 songs that never change, because that's normally how it's done. But Darcy just, he would have. It tends to be, there's always like one or two that are obvious, either end songs or towards the end songs, and I find we kind of work backwards. So like I think All Were Wild was, even when we were writing it, we were like, this is the last song of the album. Even when it wasn't finished, we were like, you know, you can't really not end it on, like, you can't put that anywhere else really, because it's sort of too low key or something, you know. It
needed to be its own kind of piece, and a final song is always, there's always more emphasis on a final song, I think, on a start song and an end song. Like those have to be, you know, it has to be bookended real nice. So All Was Wild, was the perfect.
Yeah. Oh, we always we work backwards. I remember our very first album, I'm pretty sure, if I remember right, we put all the most well-known songs and all the liveliest ones first 5, and then the last 5 were like they take it.
Oh my god, yeah.
You know, they were the kind of oddballs of the album, and it was very top heavy. I think even 1 or 2 of the reviewers picked up on it, that, you know, it was like, it's very strong for the first half, but then it's, you know, I funnily enough, I prefer a lot of the older, the last 5 songs on our very first album, Carried and Meek, because there's more longevity in them or something. They're not necessarily singles, but there's more feel in them or something. But yeah, it's just funny, reviewers immediately were like, yeah, first 5 songs are very strong, and you can tell like it's understandable some of these were singles, and then it's like, what happened to the second half of the album?
And it was recorded in Windmill Lane Studios, was it?
Yeah, there was some of it was recorded there. Yeah, we started off in, it's not there anymore. It was Bow Lane, around the back of the Stephen's Green Shopping Centre, and
we only did that because I had an addiction to TK Maxx at the time, so I needed
a terrible addiction.
Sex, drugs, and TK Maxx, is it?
Just TK Maxx, just nothing. That's it.
They'd be laying down some sweet tracks, and I'd be coming back with some sweet tracksuit buttons.
Boom. Oh man.
We also went to the was it Westland Row, Podge, just off Fair Street?
Yeah, Westland Row. Yeah,
that was good crack. I enjoyed
that.
Yeah,
it's a lovely studio. It's very kind of 70s vibe control room and stuff. It's very cool in there.
Yeah.
The I think the only downside to that place is basically it's too cushy. You go in and there's a lovely chill out room with like amazing computer games and stuff. So we kind of wasted hours in there.
It's so bad when there's a room like that in a studio. Like, like the less distractions, the better. Like, but yeah, we did a bit of recording down in Windmill. We did like trumpets and violins and kind of stuff like that in Windmill, and yeah, it was great. It's nice. We kind of tried to do that now with the last album. With the album we're working on now, we've been to different studios and stuff like that. So it's nice to kind of keep it fresh and just to try different places, and do you know what I mean? Instead of going back to the same place again and again.
Yeah, definitely. It's a really well recorded album, and I love the different sounds you have in it. And one of the things we do on this show is that we ask the acts to pick 3 songs off the album that they particularly like. I know it's hard. It's kind of like picking your favorite child or something, probably. But
wait, let me look at the track list and then I'll tell you now.
Mine are
Pick the 3 favorite songs. I think I do know mine. Yeah,
mine are all the quietest ones.
Go on, we'll start with you, Podge. What?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit to do because the toughest song on the album to write, because we kind of really hit a wall with it. It sounded like it was there and it was ready to go, and we were trying different weird time signatures on drums, and I think we were nearly too bogged down and excited about a particular offbeat drum signature that we literally couldn't finish the song, so we had to completely rewrite the song. The song is I think it's nearly half speed now, but Broken Start Over, that started off as this really kind of lilty sort of, almost like a, Here Comes a Lilt Man kind of a vibe song, and it's totally different now. But it like I remember some of the lyrics that were written were quite. I think we were writing in my where I was renting in Portobello at the time, and we were really frustrated. Yeah. And I was in the toilet, like just couldn't. I was getting really annoyed because we needed lyrics, and it just wasn't working, and we were down to the wire in terms of time and stuff. And I remember writing lyrics literally out of frustration, total frustration. And one of the lyrics, it's obviously stream of conscious, but one of them was like, "Take me out of this mess because you can't decide." And it was actually just me like going, I want to get the fuck out of here because like no one's making a decision on the lyrics, and I tried that and they were like, "That's perfect." but Broken Start Over I do actually like. We don't play it really live because it doesn't really work, but like we haven't really ever gotten a chance to properly work it. But I'd be proud of that one. And then Imperfect Rhymes, again, tricky one that we had to kind of re-flesh out, change a lot. And then yeah, I feel like I'm going to forget one, but yeah, maybe you go back and
I have my 3.
Probably all
go for it, Niamh. What's your top 3?
Probably I would say Imperfect Rhymes would be probably my number 1. Like just the lyrics and stuff like that. It's definitely a song I just love the lyrics of, and we still do it in the set today. And every time I sing it, I love it again. Do you know what I mean? I'm never fed up with that song. You know what I mean? Like other ones, you kind of, after you do them for a while, you're kind of like, it's time to retire that. But it's just, it's such a really, really good builder. It's loads of fun to sing live at a gig, like loads of fun. It's quite challenging in points as well, which I really like. Like I love being vocally challenged, like live and stuff like that. So that's probably my favorite. And then I would say probably Fandango and Apollo. And we do them in the set as well still, and I still think they sound really fresh, especially Apollo. I think it just still sounds really fresh, and it's the beat is real funky and stuff. Yeah, so Fandango and Apollo and Imperfect Rhymes. Yeah, definitely.
I'll go with.
Sorry, Podge, go on.
I'll go with All the While, actually. Just because it's mad, the meaning of it is pretty straightforward, like, and I know what actually it all more or less means. But sometimes I'd sing that, like I remember singing that after a rough, it sounds so open, super cheesy, but after a really rough breakup, a few months later, we were on a tour, and the tour couldn't have come at a better time. And it was weird. It was like therapy for me. It was kind of creepy, like getting therapy from your own tunes. But sometimes when I sing that, it genuinely does. Some songs I can sing nearly like robotically sometimes. I don't lyrically anyway. Like I might be enjoying the music, but with this, with Our Wilds, it's hard not to get into the lyrical emotion of it or something.
Yeah.
I don't think that's an odd comment, Podge, because I think Paul McCartney said at one stage that playing the guitar is like having a therapist in your life that follows you throughout life, and you can kind of share problems with and so on. And I'm sure it's the same for singing, or any musician probably has a bit of that going on. And those songs you picked, all incredible. Like, Apollo is probably one of my favorite on the album. I just love, I love the vocals on every single track. I love the music on every single track. But there's something about Apollo, the way it literally creates this kind of open soundscape, which is Apollo like, I suppose. It's cool.
Yeah.
It's really, really nice. But I one thing I've noticed as we are interviewing bands and talking about albums, one theme that seems to run through a lot of great albums and a lot of great bands is that the music is often quite upbeat and fun sounding and so on, but when that's juxtaposed with kind of really meaningful lyrics and emotion, it creates something magical. And I think with Ham Sandwich, that's absolutely the case. It really do have that kind of those elements going on. Another thing we do on the show, before I hand you back to Paul to really throw the tough questions at you, is what we do is
never mind.
Don't worry. What we do is I'm going to throw some random questions at you. The kind of fun questions, and the right answer is whatever comes to mind. And I hope I don't cause a row now between you, because there's some very, very controversial topics. So the first one I'm going to ask you is Meath or Dublin? Which do you prefer?
Meath.
And what about you, Niamh?
I'm probably going to have to say Dublin.
Okay, fine. No, I'm only joking. Okay, tape or CD?
Tape.
Oh, it's a tricky one. It's a tricky one because I'd say I'm going to go CD.
Okay, why do you say tape, Niamh?
I always just love, I used to have so many tapes, and I just love all the actions of like putting the tape in and rewinding and playing, and do you know what I mean? And your tape would get all warped the more you listen to it and stuff. Yeah.
You have to get the pencil out and fix it when it broke.
I know, and rewind it. It was just so like physical,
Yeah, you're trying to corner the hipster market now with the love for the tape.
Tape was,
so we're going younger. We're getting younger.
Tape is good because if you're trying to impress, like I remember tape was very efficient because if you're trying to impress a lady back in the day, like there was so much work involved to make a mixtape because it was tape. It was like decades of work that it was. You could tell there was an effort, but like if you're making mix CD for someone, it's thoughtless. Like you to.
I wonder do young people
So
today
easy.
Do it in 10 seconds on iTunes.
I wonder do young people today swap Spotify playlists on Tinder? I don't know. It doesn't have the same kind of
They
thing.
do.
That's it. Way worse than that.
Okay, Rolling Stones or the Beatles?
Yeah, it has to be the Beatles, but I love the Rolling Stones as well.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. I agree on that one. Barry's or Lions?
Tesco's finest.
Barry's.
Yeah, I go way out of that.
Tesco.
Tesco's finest. You can't KVI. What did you say, Niamh? Which one?
Barry's.
That's a controversial. Like, I think most Dublin people kind of go Lions. Barry's is a very Cork thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
I think so. But nightclub or late bar?
Late bar, definitely.
Late bar. Yeah, I do like a bit of dancing though, so no late bar.
Sure, Whelan's covers it all.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And what about beer or book fast?
Uh, yeah, if it depends on what you want, but I'd have to say Buckfast because I'd get nervous if I lost Buckfast.
I heard, I was listening to some old interviews, and I heard one interview where apparently now you had a rule at one stage where you could only drink down to the label on a bottle of Buckfast before a gig. Is that true?
Yeah.
And why is that?
There's a just before a show, there's like the top of the yellow label. There's two labels. There's a little sticker at the top of the neck, a little skinny one, but then there's the main label, like that's on the actual body of the bottle. So I never drink past the start of the
big label.
The big label at the top end of the big label, and then if the show was going well, if I was playing good, I'd maybe
treat
have
yourself to another bit.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay,
That's
and
like
final,
the sweet spot, like.
And the final one of these questions, as it's a big album show, what's your outside of a ham sandwich album? What is your favorite album ever? It's really hard, and that's a difficult one.
Oh,
but
I
just
know, yeah.
First one that comes to your head.
The first one that came to my head was Melancholy and Infinite Sadness, Smashing Pumpkins.
Yes. Brilliant choice.
There's so much in that I actually do love. So yeah, probably would have
it's
to.
a savage album, isn't it? And so like you get the two tapes for the price of one, you know. So it's brilliant. What about yourself?
Oh,
Podge?
mine. I'd struggle because I'm a big Pavement fan, so like all their albums, every one of them are the same to me. They're all nearly pretty much as good as each other. So I'd go with like all. I think there's 6 of them. I could be around that anyway. But Alligator by the National, I was a massive fan of that as well. Their first kind of big mainstream album was amazing.
Yeah,
I mean, I suppose to bring it back to something very serious now altogether is the question of gigging, of gigging and playing gigs. And I know you're back doing it, and you've got more to come, which is fantastic. But without going full Van Morrison on it, we wanted to ask you what your feeling was about the lack of gigs and being not able to play as a result of the pandemic. I mean, what is that like, having that loss maybe, or just not being able to do that? What kind of effect does that have? And I suppose, do you think that bands and music in general has been treated fairly in the past period?
Well, no, I don't think so. Like, I don't think the entertainment industry was treated very fairly. I think we were left for a very long time without any sort of solid answers. Do you know what I mean? And we're an industry that, like, somebody puts on a big gig and there's like security, there's protections in place for people. There's, everything is thought of because everything has to be safe. You know what I mean? So it's like, we were the best industry really to really properly test out stuff. And I remember then there was a test gig on the Ivy Gardens, but nobody was tested for COVID. So it was like, what are you actually testing then? Like, you're outdoors, so it was just, to me and to a lot of other people, I'd say that was clearly a PR stunt, I would say, on behalf of the government, kind of, because then it was another while before anything else was said,
Yeah.
So I feel like we were kind of definitely put on the long finger, you know what I mean? Because I think the entertainment industry, like a lot of stuff, especially if you're in a band or whatever, people see it as a hobby.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just it's just a hobby, isn't it? Like, do you know what I mean? But it's like, this is like, personally, this is my life. Like, do you know what I mean? I just absolutely live for doing gigs and writing and recording music. Like, do you know what I mean? It's just, I need to do it, or I'll go crazy. Like, you know what I mean? It's just, it's part of me now at this stage. Like, I'm not doing that for a while. You know what I mean? I'm sure everybody was the same. Like, there's parts of last year or the last year and a half that were difficult, very difficult. You know what I mean? And especially when you can see other people in your industry also saying, like, we've been forgotten about. You know what I mean? It's like, it might feel like loads of people feel the same, but there was still nothing really being done about it. So yeah, it was like definitely up and down, the last while. And I mean, there's I definitely feel there's a lot more positivity now going forward and looking towards like October 22nd and seeing what's going to happen when we get to that point. And yeah, it's just like it still feels a little uncertain, but definitely like when we done our shows and stuff like that, you can kind of really see people need live music. Like, do you know what I mean? They need it in their lives. You know, it's like we need it as, you know, gig goers ourselves. Like, you know, you need it. It feeds your soul, you know. And you can definitely see the people in the audience appreciating the gigs going back and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So it's great. It is positive, and we're moving forwards. Like, you know, we're definitely not moving backwards anyway. Like, you know.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the things about when we put this pod out. The fans of the band, their number one thing that they came back with was seeing the live shows in different parts of the country, and you know, people coming in with memories of, you know, having pizza with the band, various stories coming through, which and it struck me, and the sort of the feeling that I had is that people look at Ham Sandwich almost as an extension of their friends. They see it at a very different way that people see other bands. I mean, every band is different. The relationship to fans is always different. But with Ham Sandwich, it's like there's a feeling that they're friendly and that they're doing something together. And I think you need live music to do that, don't you? I mean, you can't do that. How do you do that without live music?
Yeah. We used to have a forum back in the day, like a website with a forum, and the entire band would be on it just talking to all sorts of God knows. Like there was about like at least 60 proper, you know, regulars on it, and obviously maybe max 10 of them might have been actual sort of friends, but the other 50 we pretty much know now. It's mad, you know. But there's always been that sort of like relationship with the fans. Like, and that's the thing. We're blessed in a way, because after our shows, when me and Niamh go out to, like, usually we go out to the crowd, have chats, sell merch, or do the usual. But like, no one ever, like, I like that about that. No one ever comes up and acts all weird around us. They're all like, I'd like to think we come across as very like friendly, or not, what's the right word? But yeah, like, we never have any issues with fans. They're always more than happy to just come up and have the crack with it.
Yeah, and I agree. Like, that's part of it for us as well. Is like, we love going around the country and doing the gigs and stuff, but part of it is like meeting all the people after the gigs, and like, you know, having random nights crack with, you know, people you've never met before who come to see the band because they listen to your music. Like, so, you know, you kind of welcome them into this extended Ham Sandwich family, like that. You know, gets, every time you go around the country, there's a different little group of people that you'll definitely see at the show and hang out with afterwards and have fun with. You know what I mean? It's like, it's great, and it's definitely part of the reason why, you know, I love doing the gigs. Like, that's part of it as well, you know.
It's another. It's very noticeable that you know, that's what myself and Dan got out as soon as we put this out. That's what we got back. You know, just hit you right away. But another thing that's noticeable for me, and this is another hot take coming down the line, get ready, is that children often love the tracks, and wouldn't this, you know, as Bono said, you know, when you realize it's children that teach, you know, I mean kids can have this amazing sense of music, and my daughter loves Satellite. She just thinks it's great and starts moving her head, and you know, my nieces put, you know, the first playlist they made, they had Ham Sandwich right at the top of it. Is that something that you've come across, or is it just me, that response from kids and youngsters to the music?
It's mad. I find it's a certain type of lyric as well. I don't know, like I don't tend to write anything particularly, you know, deep or Dylan-esque, but I always find some of my lyrics are just so, like, just they're kind of just what I kind of come up with something that's just random, and usually it's probably catchy because there's no thought process. It just comes out like a, whatchamacallit,
like the mind of a child.
Yeah, and it is. But like, I remember The Naturist, like there's a lyrics in that, and it's like, you don't need two arms and eyes, and it's like, it's just, I think, because there's counting in it, and kids love like educational songs, and The Naturist is it's crazy how many kids love the nature.
Yeah.
But I think it's purely because, well, that sets it off, obviously, but it's not exactly like Apex Twin or anything crazy, you know.
And there's a lot of kind of like plinky plonky sounds in a lot of the songs, like glockenspiel and things like that. And it seems to be those kind of songs that like register with the really young children, like, and it is definitely something we notice because the parents come up to us at the gigs and like, oh my God, my 2-year-old absolutely loves this song, like, you know, and the amount of times that's happened, I mean, to Podge as well, I'd say, like, it's just, there is a lot, like, yeah, it's nuts. And I don't know, does anybody else get that kind of stuff? Like, do you know what I mean? Just like, do other bands get that, or is that just there's specific sounds in our songs?
Yeah.
Obviously.
Well, when my nieces made their first playlist, that they put The Naturist right up at the top. It was the first one they did, and I said my daughter just loves Satellite and just starts putting her head side to side. It's beautiful. It's just a great thing, and it's a real you know, it's you know, and kids have a great sense, actually, don't they, of melody?
Yeah.
You know, because the Beatles would be another one that you know sometimes kids like. They start picking up on the Beatles tunes, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think it's a testament to the fact that your music cuts straight through to the kind of the soul. You know what I mean? It bypasses all the nonsense and really resonates with people at a deeper level. And I think, you know, it's incredible to see the passion both of you have, particularly Niamh, when you were talking about how you need music, you know, just in general. And I think, you know, it must have been incredibly difficult working in the sector to be under that pressure. But I know as a fan, and I know Paul agrees with me, that you're right, live music is something we all need, and it really is. Music is something that I think helped so many people, even though we couldn't go to gigs, but listening to it, engaging with it, watching YouTube videos of our favorite bands really helped a lot of us through the whole COVID experience and other experiences in life. So thanks so much for your passion and your music, because it's really important to us fans. Tell me this though, you mentioned that you have a new album coming out. What does the future hold for a ham sandwich? Tell me a little bit about the album and your plans. I know you're on tour, touring around the country at the moment. So tell us about what the future holds.
Well, we're going to do like a prog rock, new metal kind of album.
What's weird is I don't know whether you're
like,
joking or being serious.
We're not serious.
No, I'm definitely joking. We've kind of we've been working on this for a good while. It feels like forever since we released an album. So we've been working on this for a while. We managed to get into the studio a couple of times over the course of the last year and a half. We went up to Black Mountain Studios up in near Dundalk, there, a gorgeous place. And we had probably my most favorite time in the studio we've ever had as a band. Like, was just fantastic. And we're working with a new producer. The last 3 albums we worked with Carol Odlum, who's like incredible, and we had the best time with Carol Odlum.
He's a member. He's like totally a ham sandwich.
Definitely,
he comes because he's the studio member, but he's not like the producer. We've learned so much from him, but it's like anything. We were just curious to it's like anything, just flip the coin and try something. So to see what happens. You never know. Like we want to sound different again, and I think it's better to switch out a producer as well to make sure that happens. And we're going to change mixers, but yeah, I think it's a lot. Like we're blessed in a way, because like I think obviously myself and he love music, but there is Darcy has this insatiable drive for writing and then improving. I think so do we, in terms of like, I would already genuinely see lots of maybe not weaknesses, but in Stories from the Surface I can see like acres of room for improvement in the next album. And it's mad because I think you learn, and I think my motivation has never really come in this way. It's like my motivation is really coming from album 3, because I'm like I said, I feel like we only started to find our feet, and now we can see how much better we can make things with just even our processes, how much detail we put into things, how little detail we should put into things and stuff like that. But yeah, this album is genuine. Like I suppose every band will say it, and it's only normal. But like you should be excited about an album, especially something that's nearly ready to go. But this one to me, like I said, I think every song I'd be more than happy to play live and excited to play live. Especially like just 2 or 3 that we were kind of like our fingers across. We're very particularly excited about.
Yeah, it's really exciting, and it was the first time. Like I think we were in a studio, and we had like, how many did we have? We had 8, didn't we, when we first went into the studio? Like fully, kind of pretty much done, and we just started recording them, and it was like we got so much done in like 2 days, you know. Whereas we used to go into the studio and still be writing things, and things would be still getting figured out, but we had such a solid idea of where the majority of the songs were. I think that just gave us loads of confidence in ourselves, I think, and we had such a great time in the studio. The last couple of times we've been in, like we were in a couple of weekends ago, we went just into Mix Studio and recorded some vocals and stuff for the first single we're going to be releasing off the album, hopefully in October. So yeah, it's like we haven't really been letting too many people listen to the demos and stuff. Normally we would have done that. We used to like
nearly too much.
So we've really kind of kept this one close to our chests, and we're really excited for people to hear it, because like, I mean, it's ham sandwich, but you know, it's kind of what we want to do is, you know, do something slightly different again, like, and take our sound somewhere else a little bit, you know what I mean?
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah.
Well, it's something
I feel like Bodies was for me, it's kind of the first song that we started to actually get a bit of real organization, nearly professionalism of the band, and that went so well. It was a real eye opener, and we kind of dropped the ball a little bit after that. But then I think ever since every song that will be on this album, I think we've got the same ethos for each song, the way we would have had with Bodies. And the good thing is, it's not. Well, I don't think we'll ever really write an album that's all in a very similar vein, where all the songs are like a certain style, and kind of with this, there's a serious mixed bag of things, but we really like we're really happy with them all.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean, Niamh? There's not like, there's songs that like are almost ballad like, and then there's songs that are like proper dance floor stuff that there's no let up. Where we've never, like, even Illuminate has a danciness to it. It still has breakdowns and stops and Bodies again, but like we've our first song really it starts and you could dance right to the end, like right to the very last second, which is, it's kind of handy. Like it'd be cool to finally possibly have a dance floor tune, and I think this is our best shot.
Yeah, definitely agree with you there. Yeah,
Cannot wait.
Yeah.
Well, we just want to say to both of you, Niamh and Podge, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the Big Album Show. We've really enjoyed that, and we just want to ask our listeners to remember, please, to subscribe and hit like and give us a review. And please, if you like the podcast, please just share it with your friends. We really very much appreciate it. But for now, from me, Paul,
and me, Dan,
thank you very much for listening, and thanks, Podge, and thanks, Niamh. Talk to you soon.
Thanks so much, guys.
thank you.
Thank you. You're listening to The Big Album Show with Paul and Dan. Please remember to subscribe, hit like, and remember to follow us on our social media platforms at The Big Album Show.